Maha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari. Antaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, founder Acharya Viskanda's Divine Grace, Shil A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today's verse is Canto 10 and the first verse in chapter 84. And this actually kind of sums up a little bit of the last verse and heads into the topics for this verse. We'll start kind of next verse. That Shri Shuga Uvacha Shudra Prata Subala Pujyata Yakshaseni Madhyata Shiptitapanya Uttaswagopya Krishna Kilatmani Haropanayanu Bandam Sarva Vismisyu Adamashu Kala Kulakshaha. And the translation, it says, Shukadev Goswami said, Krita, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, the wives of the other kings and the Lord's cowherd girlfriends were all amazed to hear of the queen's deep love for Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and soul of all beings, and their eyes filled with tears. And the purport here says, Draupadi is the chief hearer in this assembly of exalted women. Since, as explained by Srila Sridhar Swami, she had asked the question that the Lord's queens answered by relating their respective stories. Since Gandhari and the other ladies named here were not even mentioned in the previous chapter as having been present, Acharya Sridhar concludes that they must have heard the queen's narration only secondhand. Indeed, Draupadi would never have spoken so freely in the presence of Pritha and Gandhari, her elders, or before the gopis, whose attitude toward the queens of Dwarka was not particularly sympathetic. Even though the gopis joined in shedding tears, it was more because of their being reminded of Sri Krishna's pastimes than because of any loving affinity between them and the queens. We should remember, of course, that there is always perfect harmony on the spiritual platform. Apparent conflict between pure devotees is nothing like mundane envy and strife. The jealousy of the gopis was more show than substance, being exhibited by them as an ecstatic symptom of their overflowing love for Krishna. Srila Sridhar Swamipad further analyzes this phrase Swagopya as implying that these gopis were the queen's Swarupa, the original prototypes of whom the queens were specific expansions. So this is the translation again. Shukadev Goswami said, Pritha, Gandhari, Draupadi, Subhadra, the wives of other kings, and the Lord's cowherd girlfriends were all amazed to hear of the queen's deep love for Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and soul of all beings, and their eyes filled with tears. So, Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So I thought we would kind of zero in a little bit on the latter part of the purport, because here we're here at Kurukshetra, right? The eclipse was happening, and so this was a wonderful opportunity. This is the before that the battle of Kurukshetra, and as the Gita says, the Kurukshetra was a dharma kshetra. It was a place of religious performances even before the battle of Kurukshetra took place there. It makes it a place for Leela, Krishna's Leela. And so they were coming there because of this eclipse. And so there was an opportunity for the residents of Vrindavan, the residents of Hastinapur, and the residents of Dwarka all to meet. And so the residents of Braj were seeing Krishna for the first time since he left. And then in this next chapter, we're going to see that there's these great saints. In this chapter, actually, the great rishis from the higher planets are coming down also and going to speak about Krishna, which leads into another interesting Leela. But so anyway, so it says here that Draupadi had asked the queens, to tell her their stories with Krishna, how they came to be with Krishna, what their life with Krishna was like. And so this was bringing people to tears for different reasons. But towards the end of the purport, it mentions that there's always harmony in the spiritual world. And so even though there may seem to be some jealousy, between the gopis and the queens, their expansions, or in some other ways there may be seemingly competition, everything is harmonized. So I thought we could take a little bit of a look at that and see how that takes place and why that takes place. And so this is explained. I mean, you have we see in earlier in the 10th canto, we see how Radharani, when she's speaking to the bee messenger, speaking to Krishna, that you must be Krishna's messenger, and she's reproaching Krishna, and she's thinking that that he's going to, now that he's in the big city of Mathura, right, with sophisticated women, that he's going to forget about the simple, pastoral cowherd girls in Vrindavan. He's going to be captivated by the sophisticated, high class city girls, and she's seemingly upset with that, and and so you see that there. There's also, it's understood in Braj that there's the other principal Gopi Chandravali, who there seems to be competition there. Well, in the Shikshastakam, the last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya recites his Shikshastakam. He's not composing them there, but he says he would sometimes recite these prayers that he'd composed, and he would feel the ecstasy of them. He would relish them. And so in that last chapter, he's with some of his confidential associates, and he's reciting those prayers. And after he recites each one, he gives some further, explanation. I mean, it's more just an outpouring of his appreciation for them, but rather than like a scholarly presentation. But he's explaining them in depth. And so the final verse, and in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada has made a little bit more elaborate translations than the ones of the Shikshastakam that we oftentimes hear. And so the final one is really kind of graphic in that translation. Radharani says that she's padaratam. She's at the feet of Krishna. She's, bowing down or there at the feet of Krishna, right? And he can do one of two things. He says he can pinashdumam, he can trample her with his feet. He can just walk all over her. Or he can aslishava, he can pick her up, take her by the hand, pick her and embrace her. And she says that she can. Prabhupada says you can make me brokenhearted by your absence. The word is marmahatam, and one of the connotations of marma is it's like a particularly vulnerable point in the body. It's a place where you would aim at to kill somebody, right? So it's like you can mortally wound me, would be even the more graphical thing, by not being present before me. Adarshanan, marmahatam. He says, and why isn't he there? Because he says, I know that you're a lumpata, a womanizer, right? And so you may be going with other women, and that might be why you're breaking my heart or mortally wounding me with that. And then she says that, but despite all this, she says, you are my prananath, the Lord of my life. You and so she says, you and only you are the Lord of my life. And so that this is her attitude. And but then in the voice, I mean, Lord Chaitanya this is in the mood of Radharani, explains further, especially the part of him having other women, how that reacts within her. So that this reflects particularly on this notion of jealousy that she might have for the queens. And she says two things that are really powerful. there. She says, first of all, if Krishna desires some other woman and she's not interested, and Radharani will go to that woman and try to take her by the hand and persuade her to go to Krishna. She doesn't go there and say, "Hey, this guy's kind of unreliable. It's a good idea. Stay away from him. You know, leave him to me. Let me be the one who suffers." No, she says no. She says, if Krishna wants, then she's going to bring her there, going to persuade her to go to Krishna. And then the other thing she says, that if somehow there is someone else that makes Krishna happier than Radharani does, that she will then become the servant of that person and simply want to participate in some way to enhance the pleasure that Krishna gets from that person. She won't even deal with Krishna at all anymore. She will simply become the servant of this person who pleases Krishna more. And so this is a, and so so the overwhelming thing, the only consideration here in Braj is the pleasure of Krishna. And so when Radharani is a little bit upset with Krishna, that he may be captivated by the sophisticated city women of Mathura, it's not that she's jealous of them in a conventional sense, that, oh, now I won't see Krishna. But she knows that in some way, she knows that she and the gopis are the ones that make Krishna the happiest. Right. And so if, because he has this weakness for girls, and if somehow he's attracted to them and neglects the gopis, and he won't be as happy. And then so forth, she's even a little angry with him for that purpose. Why? He's just not intelligent sometimes. And so she's not angry in a normal jealous sort of way, but she's jealous for Krishna's happiness. Right? And that's the same thing she's showing here. If there's somebody else that really that pleases Krishna the most, she not only is happy that Krishna meets with her, but she will serve that person, because Krishna's happiness is the only thing. And so this also may sound a little toxic. There's a kind of I would say, the material analog of this, if there's something that can be somewhat comparable. There's a famous jazz song, a bluesy jazz song by the late great Billie Holiday, called "Don't Explain," and it's a very sad song because she's in a very self-aware state. She says, "Don't explain." She says that she says she knows that, she says this person, she knows that, I know you cheat. But right or wrong doesn't matter, she says. Doesn't matter when you're with me, sweet. And she says that she says, you know I love you, and what love endures, place no one above you. Oh, I'm so completely yours. And so she's aware that this person is not faithful. Is aware that the person doesn't reciprocate that love, but she's saying it doesn't matter. She's not pining away when he's gone, but when you're here, she says, skip that lipstick. Don't explain. You don't have to tell me where you've been. You already know it. But as long as you're here, then that's it. My life's yours, love. Don't explain. And so it's because there's a self-awareness there. It's in one sense, there's a beauty. That love is beautiful. But because of the circumstances and what it's in, the other person isn't appreciating it, and it's really toxic. So the two things as a counterpoint make it a very, very poignant and sad song. So we may think, that something like that is here, that there's kind of a toxic relationship. That Radharani is, you can trample me, or you can embrace me, you can break my heart, and I'm still going to be here. But the difference is that in Braj, the whole the whole underlying dynamics are different, completely 180 degrees different from what they are in this material world. And therefore, it's very difficult and challenging and a little dangerous to extrapolate our own experience into the understanding the experience of Leela. And so the idea in both of these cases in the material analog, it's all about love, and it's unconditional, and it can't be broken, and it just is what it is. But the type of love is different. The circumstances are different. In this world, there's a preponderance of a lack of satisfaction. That's what it is. We're empty inside, and we're looking to fill the emptiness. And a lot of spiritual life is moving us towards greater levels of inner happiness and peace, and that sort of thing. And so that causes a certain dynamic. So if there is the kind of love that would cause you to suffer, you embrace it, but there's still suffering. And so, but in the spiritual world, when we're talking here, we're talking a special kind of love, Krishna prema. The underpinnings of it are completely different, and it's it's above my pay grade to be able to explain very well. But like what's clear, I think, from what we see, and is that there's something about being connected with Krishna, so that prema is something which is far millions and billions and trillions of times greater than peace and self-satisfaction. It's something way beyond that. So there's no emptiness there. And so we hear in the Madhurya Kadambini what it's like to meet Krishna. All right, that it says that the soul who meets Krishna for the first time, they'll see Krishna, and they want their whole being to be eyes, because two eyes isn't enough. And then it causes them to pass out. It's just too overwhelming. And then you smell, as while unconscious, you smell the aroma of Krishna's body. You want to become all noses. You pass out again. Then Krishna speaks to you, and you want to be all ears, and you pass out again. And then Krishna touches you, but then he gives you a special power to be able to experience him in all those different ways without passing out. Right. And Prabhupada talks about devotional service being enlivening. So there's something about the experience. The only thing I could give you maybe some kind of an analogy that begins to move you in that direction. If you've had an experience in your life that in some ways changes your life, that makes your life more meaningful, that makes you come alive. If you've had some experience, I guess it could even be the opposite trauma, that some experience just changes the way that you see things and the way that you are. So Krishna is this ultimate positive experience that, and not only does it remove any lacking in you, but it causes you to overflow with such joy. The fact that someone like Krishna exists, that you are permanently and intensely super satisfied. It's to the point where you do not have to think of yourself any longer, about yourself any longer. You are fulfilled beyond any possible comprehension or expectation or belief. And it's so powerful and so overwhelming that the only thing you want to do is to give something to Krishna. It's not a responsibility. It's not a duty. It's not knowing that he's the Lord and you're the servant. No, it's just that Krishna is just so wonderful. And his existence makes things so beautiful, and it just makes you come alive to an extent. You have to do something. You simply have to. There's not even any thought process. It's just that you must. And that's the only thought. And the only thought is how Krishna can be happy. It's in one sense, it's a very simple thing, but it's very, very powerful. And all the Leela that goes on is just to make that continually intensify. So there's in the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has a book about the Rasa Lila, and he mentions something really interesting in there. He says one of the reasons why the Rasa Lila happened was, and it was partially Radharani's desire to have all the gopis together like that, because she wanted to be able to see Krishna with all the other gopis simultaneously. Because even though they're ultimately just they're expansions of Radharani, they all have, a specific personality and a specific flavor of connection with Krishna, and Krishna behaves with them in a unique way. And so she wanted to see Krishna, what Krishna is like when he's showing these different facets of himself. And so she was curious to see Krishna with all of the other gopis, you know. And then she also, because she it also says that she will individually want to unite the other gopis with Krishna, because they're also pleasing Krishna, and they're assisting her in her service, and so she wants them to see Krishna that will be pleasing to Krishna and pleasing to her, and so the jealousy is all about Krishna's happiness. If Krishna is dealing with these women, maybe he's not as happy. And the debate between Radharani's and Chandravali's followers is all about who pleases Krishna more. And that's the only criteria. And if Krishna is pleased the most, everybody actually is happy. Then there's no underlying animosity of any kind. There's only a debate. What makes Krishna the happiest? And if we all agree on that, then everybody's on board. Because that's all there is just this. And from Krishna's side, right, he feels the same type of love. He just wants his devotees to be happy. So there's no toxicity there. The separation and the union is just building. When there's separation, that desire to please Krishna the desire is there, but the ability to do it is seemingly interrupted. And so the love is building and is waiting for expression. And so when the union comes again, that love bursts forth in a more intense form than before. So it's building the intensity every single time. So for us, I think that this is interesting. This Krishna prema is a completely spontaneous something that's completely spontaneous. Like when I remember, that you have a translations of the Shikshastakam in the introduction to the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they have that verses in there. It's not quite translated in quite that in depth of a way, because it takes kind of some already understanding of the teachings to understand what's there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But that same thing, that unconditional love of God is very present. And so, at that point, that struck me, that if someone can have so much faith in God, that they would, remain devoted no matter what, that seemed very appealing to me. And but when you hear the Shikshastakam, in the mood of Braj, in the mood of Radharani, there's nothing noble, there's nothing faith, there's not a faith component there. There's none of that. It's not that that Krishna is God and therefore whatever he does is okay. I feel it'll be good for me and good for him, or anything like that. It's not even trying to have a noble type of love. It's just what it is. Right? That burning desire to please Krishna, who for the most part they don't know he's God, and when they do, they don't care. He's just my love. And he might really be a bad guy, And so and in fact, it's not a dharmic thing, right? You hear sometimes, about the faithful wives in the Vedas, who maybe don't have such great husbands, and they're faithful because of their dharma. Well, in Braj, they seem to be violating dharma, right? So there's nothing about nobility, there's nothing about dharma, there's nothing about self-sacrifice, there's nothing about anything, nothing about faith It's just this burning desire that has no other foundation. That's what it means to be unalloyed. Right? Srila Prabhupada says that it's only the residents of Braj that fully fulfill Rupa Goswami's definition of without motivation, annibilashta shunyam. And he explains it that those who understand that Krishna is God, then part of the motivation is there's Prabhupada has this purport on Jaya Radha Madhava. Like that's really interesting. It's in the vintage recordings. I think it's 13 and the fourth track on that, where he describes this that only those if you know that Krishna is God, then you can't be fully unmotivated, because if you know that Krishna is God, he's God, you're the servant, right? That's your constitutional position. So there's some notion of duty there. There's some notion of duty. And so there's also a great deal of love and spontaneity and prema there. So that's not the ruling thing, but there's some tinge of that there. And Jiva Goswami says that causes them sometimes to interrupt their service briefly. Generally, they're serving Krishna all the time, but sometimes this is they enjoy the sukha and aishvarya, the happiness and the opulence of the spiritual world. But in Braj, there's no that is not there, and so that it's an existential burning desire simply to make Krishna happy, and it never abates, it never diminishes, it only burns hotter. I think that's when Krishnadas Kaviraj describes prema as like this burning sugarcane juice, boiling sugarcane juice. It's so sweet, at the same time it's burning because you just have to please Krishna. He's so wonderful that somehow you have to express that there's a burning indebtedness, that you just need to do it. You have to do it. There's no mediation with philosophy or anything else. It's an existential need that just intensifies. And so it's a whole different circumstance there in the spiritual world, especially in Braj, that then we can understand by extrapolating from our experience, even if it might be a poetic experience or a sad song, um, that evokes something kind of powerful. It's far beyond all that, and that's what Krishna has designed for himself when he's a full participant. That's why in Braj, he his love causes him, his prema causes him to forget his omnipotence and his omniscience. Many things that are happening in Braj are happening. He farms out the controller to Purnamasi, Yogamaya. You arrange things and just let me participate. Let me feel love, right? Because if he's controlling what happens and scripting everything, right, then it's not as exciting for him. He knows it's going to happen. He knows he's God and these other beings are so much lesser beings. And so when he's able, so his whole purpose in life is to become a being, even though he's everything, and he can control everything. He can make anything different. He can have anything he wants. There's no limitations to him. That limits his capacity to love. So if Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that when Queen Kunti, she's in her prayers to him, she says that that fear personified is afraid of you, but you're afraid of Mother Yashoda when she's chasing him in the Damodar Leela. And he says that if Krishna is just pretending to be afraid, that's not bewildering. And so, Queen Kunti won't be surprised by that if Krishna is just pretending to be afraid so that it enriches the love of his devotees. So she says, so he's really afraid. And he says that's because the power of his prema covers over temporarily the knowledge of his of who he is, his superiority, his omniscience, his omnipotence, his divinity. And he becomes another, and for that moment, he becomes like a person who's dependent on his mother and who's afraid of her. So he allows him to have the full experience also. So his desire and the love that he feels from his devotees overwhelms him, and he only wants their happiness. And all the Leela is just meant to churn that and to create experiences to deepen the love. That's what's happening there. So there is no animosity, right? There's only sometimes a debate over what Krishna enjoys the most, how to make Krishna happy the most. And for us, and we are, we are ultimately smaller beings. Radharani is the one who makes Krishna the happiest. And even though she, or wants to see Krishna with the other gopis, her assistants, and even though she sometimes arranges for them to meet with Krishna privately, they always prefer to have Radharani meet with Krishna, because the real thing that's even more amazing than either Krishna's love or Radharani's love is the love that Krishna and Radharani have together, right? The shared love. And so the gopis who assist Radharani, they would the love that, because Radharani's love is the highest possible love and induces the highest possible love from Krishna, they would prefer to facilitate that than to participate with Krishna separately or individually. And that's why Lord Chaitanya, he says that we want to become the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, because whatever love that we can have with Krishna directly pales in comparison to the love that Radha and Krishna have. And so it's just by nature. Like I said, if you have somebody who's the best possible cook and you're interested in eating, you bring that person to the kitchen and you cut vegetables for them or do whatever they want you to do. You don't want to be the cook. And so in Braj, all the other gopis, they simply want to assist Radharani because the connection there between Radha and Krishna, which permeates the entire area. See, the whole atmosphere is filled with that. There's not the kind of separation that we feel here. There's deep connection. That whole mood is there. That love permeates the atmosphere. So they want to create that. They want to facilitate that. They want to assist that. And so all of the other devotees, and as far as I can see, there's an advantage. Like it says that the Radharani has an advantage over Krishna. That's why Krishna wants to take on the mood of Radharani. She can experience what love for Krishna feels like. She can, so Radharani experience what Krishna looks like when you see him through the eyes of love, and she can experience Krishna's love. And so these are the reasons Lord Chaitanya wanted to take on her mood. She has a privileged access to Krishna that even Krishna doesn't have. So he wants to do that. And then the servants of Radharani, see, Radharani can't see Radha and Krishna together. She can see Krishna, but she can't see that. And they can see that. So the further back you go, the more of the bigger picture you can see, the more of the whole flavor of that. You can see all the different. You can see those and those who are serving Radharani and those who are serving more. And so it's actually a very comfortable thing. That's why being the servant of the servant of the servant also isn't a noble or a sacrificial or a self-sacrificing thing. It's something you naturally want to do. Oh, I have a chance to, if I can contribute some little tiny bit to this, this will fulfill me intensely. All right, so I think our time is up. Let's can open the floor here to comments and questions.
Hare Krishna. What can we say? But wow, what an extraordinary presentation. You've been able to, by the grace of your spiritual master, absorb and and elaborate and bring us right into some of the most uh, intimate and extraordinary Krishna loving exchanges. Thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
It's breathtaking,
It,
literally,
it, it is
and
beautiful. It's so
everything
beautiful.
accurate. I mean, you didn't quote a lot of scripture, but you elaborated on exactly what Prabhupada's given us so nicely. It's miraculous. Thank you. Well, glories to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, for class. I wonder, how do you function in this world? How do you pay your bills? Do you have time to do anything practical? Or
I'm not on that level, you know. I'm trying to understand it. I hope of it, but I'm not there. I'm right here with y'all.
okay.
But
So if a bill comes in, you know what to do.
I know what to do. I know it's a
Okay.
bill, and I'm not necessarily happy to see it.
Mhm.
I'm firmly on the ground with y'all. But I really think that we have this, that we should understand a little bit, if we can, the beauty and the wonder and the joy of what reality is. I don't think we appreciate that enough. And I think we're really meant to slowly, like the higher taste in this experience of something higher. Sometimes, and it's normal and natural and fine for us to kind of ride that, and feel encouraged in our Krishna consciousness. But I think we need to understand that that's a little hint, just a little hint of what prema is like, and a little hint of what Krishna is like when we feel that something that's higher than we've ever experienced before, and just experiencing that higher taste is not the end. It's more of something that encourages us to make a connection with more enthusiasm. In the Harinam Chintamani, it really says, that in order for the holy name to have, the kind of effect we hope for, we have to chant with anuraga, with a real enthusiasm. He talks about the three levels of inattention, kind of not being into it as one level, being distracted at another level, and another level of inattention is where you're not distracted and you're into it, but you're not really into it. And he says, and unless you have anuraga, this really, really great, real enthusiasm and a wholeheartedness, I would say, is how you could put it. It says it won't, even if you
Okay.
chant 64 rounds a day, it says it won't remove all the anarthas. And so in some way, if we at least can, in some distant fashion, realize how beautiful the world is, that this prema exists and that we're invited, and that in our contact with, and the things that we're having in our service, in that contact with the higher taste, that we're getting a little hint of that. It's confirmation, so it should deepen our faith in that, and give us some confidence that it's there. So instead of just having that be the end, that I want to feel blissful, I mean, chant be happy is fine, and we do, and we should, do that. But to also at the same time think about how that's giving us a little hint of this wonderful thing that we hear about. And so that when we go to connect with Krishna again, we do it enthusiastically. We have a tendency, because we're in the stage of practice, that we know that this, what we're doing, is valuable. We need to make time and put energy in it, that we fall into the notion of kind of having to be, dutiful and focused and concentrated. And there's no harm in that at all, but it can squeeze out some of the enthusiasm if we let that take over. So if we remind, why am I being disciplined? Why am I trying to be organized? Why am I trying to be doing this? So that I can make room for Krishna. If I keep remembering that, then that can have to help to bolster the enthusiasm. And that's, then the service starts to become spontaneous. It starts to become spontaneous.
Wow. When you become dutiful, that becomes spontaneous.
If you understand why you're doing it, right? Because sometimes we think, if I just check off the boxes, okay, then I've done my duty for the day, And so if I'm just kind of focused on being organized and having my duty and doing my sadhana, and I'm not thinking about why I really want to do it, why I'm excited about that. What, you know, how the higher taste I felt from that is just a tiny hint of what can be there. Then it can, the dutifulness can squeeze the enthusiasm out.
Thank you for clarifying that, Prabhu. We have Krishna Kumari followed by Bhima Prabhu.
Just you've increased my shraddha, because I did a workshop with Vera last night, Vera Bhadra, and I chose the one word was prema, and I had all these blocks actually within myself, like thinking it was like I was pathetic to be calling out. Anyway, it was very interesting. I really admire that you're like fearless to talk about this topic. It's just it's so needed. Yeah, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Really,
thank you, thank you.
melts
I'm
my
glad to be
heart.
of some
Thank
be of
you.
some service. You know, so I'm flailing away like with the rest of you, but I'm if my flailings can help you, maybe it's worth something.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, Bhima Prabhu.
How do you
I
go?
know.
Can you
Yeah.
hear me? Hear me
Yes,
okay?
yes,
Why
clearly.
are you hiding?
I'm not hiding. I'm filling up water jugs. So my question is why did Krishna throw me into this cold world? Just joking. It's very cold out where I'm at, and you might just see me carrying buckets right
Oh
now.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think it's lovely to be able to call upon Billie Holiday's "Hush, Don't Explain." Because if one were to listen to this, one would actually get a bit in Indian music. I don't know what to call it. Karnika, whatever the name of it is. The different notes have different rasas, right? The different ragas are reflective of different rasas. Like there's music that reflects separation, certain set of notes, not even the lyrics, but the set of notes. And so when we listen to this, the sort of lilting, sorrowful, and yet sweet voice of Billie Holiday saying, "Hush now, don't explain. I don't want to know about these other girls. You're here with me now, and that's all I care about." Um, it's sort of like draws a direct, and what you were saying, it draws a direct reflection of the heartbreak that we have in this world. Um, this world will break your heart. There's no doubt about it. That's what ephemerality is. We've come down here, and the caveat is when we come down here is planned obsolescence of our body, and sometimes planned obsolescence of our love in this world. And that when we experience these things, there's no amount of ideology or studying of the Shastra is going to bring us to the depth of what true heartbreak brings us to understand the nature of this world. But we also understand that in developing this sort of reflection of love in this world, that there is something that we're shooting for in our personal relationship with Krishna, and that Krishna, we have to be ready and equipoised enough to understand that Krishna's going to put us through our paces. He's going to throw stuff our way to deepen that love. He's going to throw challenges to make us stronger, and he's going to throw, he's what we think is him trampling on us is actually him making us deeper, the love deeper and deeper. And the way you explained it, Prabhu, just it does make it accessible. We're all like, oh, a million, yeah, in a million lifetimes, I'll never understand prema, or I don't know what prema is. Well, if we stop looking for it in this world, then Krishna reveals what this drop of honey tastes like. And I think almost everybody in this class and all the devotees in the movement, that if you have that 10% sincerity, that you're actually looking to find out what honey really tastes like. I think Krishna has given us all tiny little tastes here and there, that ruchi, and these tiny little tastes, like this lecture, like this class that you just gave, we listen and we're like, oh, this is the romance that I need. This is the romance that I need to think about. Because let's be real, nothing beats what the heart wants. Nothing in your head, nothing in all your plans. You can be president of the world, you can be king of the world, but there will be a love that is private and endeared and connected directly to your heart, that will overcome anything that the world has to throw at you. And I think that's sort of like, we have to understand that, as Adi Purusha also says, and as also Giri, when you speak about this, that there's this other world, and we have to try our best to see it and feel it and cry out for it. And then Krishna gives us, like, he parts the clouds and he says, here I am. I love you. I've always loved you. I never let you go. And then we kind of get serious, get a little bit serious, and realize that there's nothing here in this ephemeral world but the reflection of what we should be turned towards. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for such a wonderful class to instill and distill what it means to be in love with Krishna. Hare Krishna.
I think it's darshan time, huh?
Darshan time. Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu. Okay, dear devotees, turn on your cameras. Please, if you can. Unblur the background. We want to see if your room is neat.
Krishna sees through the blur anyway, so you might as well fess up,
No. Move over. Oh, what?
Great awe and reverence. By His grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from His lotus mouth. Attached to His lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes, fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From Him ecstatic prema emanates, and my ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of His character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and the Lord of masters, the devotees. Oh, Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada. Jai.
Thank you, Jani Tai Prabhu. Welcome to the Afterglow, dear devotees. Would anyone, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, you have a few minutes
Sure.
extra? Okay. Would anyone like to ask a question or share a reflection? Jeffrey Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Giri Govardhan. Thank you again for always calmly bringing us into focus and relaying it with reference to things that we recognize from this mundane world and can spiritualize through your explanation. My question is regarding the esoteric nature of this relationship, and how are we to understand that sometimes the text, either Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, is very direct. I am my devotee's dear friend. Do not fear. Very direct, clear instruction. And then sometimes it's almost like, I know it says this, but it really means this. And so how are we to know how are we to know that the statements are direct or indirect? And is there a reason why some things are presented in such an esoteric way when there is an explanation? I guess it's just confusing to a certain degree. Can you help me understand that?
I think, well, when Leela is being described directly, then sometimes it can be a little confusing because the background is different, right? So we use the same words, but because we understand, we have a certain conventional way of understanding those words, that we bring that to the Leela. And this is one of the reasons why, it says that you have to be a little careful, that just trying to absorb yourself in Leela without the proper foundation, leads you to Sahajaism, because you're imagining your connection with Krishna, but you're doing it with your material concepts, the things with which you're familiar. So just, I guess, when you're dealing with transcendent stuff, I mean, the best word you can use for prema is love, but it's a different kind of love than we've experienced, and so therefore it's automatically a challenge. You're describing something for which we don't really have. I mean, even it says that that Krishna is, has this beautiful peacock feather. But when you see Krishna in person, you'll recognize, oh, that's the peacock feather, but it's a peacock feather unlike anyone you've ever seen. Or the blue color is also unlike. It resembles it enough that you recognize, oh, that's Krishna from the description. But it's so much more vibrant, so much more wonderful than we've experienced, because it's a spiritual form. And so therefore, there's just a difficulty in translating something that's beyond our experience, into language we can understand. And so that's the challenge. Well, otherwise something can be more simple, that Krishna is our friend. And of course, we don't even realize now what that, even then we don't realize to the degree to which Krishna is our friend and how much he cares for us, but at least that's more clearly understandable. He's going to help us. So that's why as soon as you're still dealing with Leela, then you're dealing with a world that's as yet at least unfamiliar to us. Maybe we've seen it before, but we've forgotten. So it doesn't make it. So it's a translation process. It's challenging.
A function of putting words to the ineffable.
And just the mentality here is that we're empty and we're needy. And so we're looking for happiness, or at best we can seek for, inner fulfillment, right? So a lot of spiritual practice is looking for inner peace, but this is something that blows way beyond that. It not only is, so even the dynamic of being completely self-satisfied is different from neediness, and your actions are different from that. But then when it's exploding in love, it's a whole different thing, even than that, and goes beyond that. And so we just don't have experience of that. So to be able to explain it is difficult, right? It's a foreign language to us. And so, I think if we just if we can get, so we at least understand a little bit about the dynamics, it helps us to go there,
Hare Krishna, thank you. And thank you for attempting to explain it to us.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's above my pay grade. But I think there is. It's clear that there's a different underpinning there, and so I think that helps at least to move in the direction of comprehension.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Okay, we can take one more burning question. Adipusha, Prabhu. Keep your hands on the wheel, please.
Hare Krishna. I was in a Baptist church. It's hard to respond to a class like this. I was in a Baptist church in Washington, D.C. one time, and the pastor was speaking, and everybody's going, "That's right, you said it. Okay, Haribol." In the Native American tradition, when the guy is talking in the rock lodge, the person giving the class, everybody says, "Aho." In the Native American, aho matakuyasin, that's the way they acknowledge, yeah, right, amen, and that's how we felt like responding. I mean, practically every sentence you said, I had trouble keeping my mouth shut. Yeah, you said it. You said it. That's it. That's right. Amen, brother. Hare Krishna, glories to Prabhupada. We don't do that in our tradition, but I mean, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to respond like that. Encourage the speaker and everybody, and not just one person. Everybody's going, yeah, 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 good. That's right.
Hari 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 Bo!
You said it. You said it.
There's a
Amen.
song. Gary probably knows this because he's the king of lyrics. There's a song, "Can I Get a Witness?"
Oh yeah.
Can I get a witness? I got a sweet little wonderful, right? I got a sweet little wonderful. He knows how to treat me right, even if he's trampling me, And can I get a witness? That's the whole Sankirtan thing. Like, I'm dancing and I don't care about any of my bills. I'm just dancing in this kirtan. Screw the bills. I'm going back to Godhead. And we
There's that one book. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There's that one book where when you get a bill, and I've been doing this for a long time now, you get a bill, you take the envelope and you go, "Thank you, Krishna," because it's devotional service to pay that bill. You don't just like, "Oh, screw the bills," I don't care. It's like you rejoice at the challenges that Krishna sends,
And bills are like heavy. You open the mailbox and there's these envelopes in there. You think, oh, what is that? But then if you have that interesting response, you try it. Give a big smack kiss to that bill and say, of course, if you're engaged in devotional service, and that's where the Lakshmi's going. Lakshmi loves to run and jump into Krishna's arms. Lakshmi loves to run and jump in Krishna's arms. So when you get a bill, come on, Lakshmi, we got some Krishna service for you, and she's happy.
Does that apply to parking tickets?
If it's something that will further your devotional service to Krishna, we accept it. But of course we don't seek these things. We have to be careful not to waste Lakshmi.
Yeah, a very important disclaimer. Okay, so we're gonna give you our parking ticket we'll receive next time, and we'll let you kiss it. Okay, Angela Prabhu, how are you? Are you enjoying the vibe? Yeah.
What?
Are you enjoying the vibe?
Yes, very much so. Very
Good.
much so.
Good.
Okay, so. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That was perfect. Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu, for taking us into Krishna Lila and back. So now we're going to go out and practice what we learned. Thank you, Giri Govardhan Prabhu.
I'm the
Thank you.
treasurer here, so I'm going to practice what Adi Purush Prabhu said. I'm going to work on my puckering up here when the big utility bill comes in. Oh, I love you.
Good. Take a selfie and put it in the group chat.
I got to work on that.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank you,
taking that
Prabhu.
to heart.
Thank you. Okay, Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day.